mother installs a hidden camera and catches her husband in an act that will go viral worldwide. Part 2, as I mentioned in Part 1, Stephanie and Darwin were the happy parents of a little girl named Nova, who was 4 years old. The entire family was very happy, but one day Darwin began to distance himself from Stephanie. He would go out at night and only come back in the early morning when his wife asked him what he had been up to the night before. He would tell her not to worry and that he was just with friends. But she started to find it very suspicious. Then it was Nova's turn, their little girl, to start distancing herself from her mother. So Stephanie decided to install hidden cameras throughout the house. And when she discovered the footage, she was shocked. In the footage, Stephanie discovered that Darwin and Nova secretly creating spectacular artworks. These paintings always depicted the little family, and Stephanie quickly realized that it was a gift she would soon receive on her upcoming birthday. She then posted the video on TikTok, which went viral and circled the globe. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring content. This baby woke up with both of his legs swollen. But when his mother took him to the hospital, what the doctors discovered was so terrifying that they immediately called the police. Ryan, a 3-year-old boy, woke up with his legs strangely swollen, which initially worried his mother. She thought it might be an allergic reaction or something related to circulation. However, when the swelling got worse and Ryan started crying in pain, she didn't hesitate to take him to the hospital. Upon arrival, the doctors ran a series of tests, thinking it could be something simple. But as they dug deeper, they discovered something much more sinister. The swelling in Ryan's legs wasn't caused by a natural condition or common illness. When the doctors finally found out what was happening, they were so shocked that the only thing they could do was call the police immediately. Want to know what they found? Follow me and comment "baby" for Part 2.
Hold on. Let's put it right up. I'm just going to lift it a little bit, Sarah. The patient then screamed out.
Hey, sir, we need you to stay calm, okay?
We can't help you unless you stop moving.
Are you feeling hot? Right, it's important that you be calm. The more you thrash around, the more oxygen you'll use, and the hotter you'll get. I'm kind of concerned if she starts sweating, it'll maybe soften the plaster and maybe seal the airway. You understand, Sarah? Stay calm, okay? Her breathing was very loud and labored. She's becoming more and more agitated during this time, so I'm sure there was components of claustrophobia. Sarah, you need to stay calm.
Do you think we should give her a sedative?
It's tempting, but I don't want to suppress her respiratory drive.
Right.
If you suppress respirations, the body retains carbon dioxide, and that has actually a sedating effect of its own, and you get more and more sleepy, so it sets off this kind of domino effect.
I ran away from home when I was 16 and became a missing person up until the age that I was 18 and was able to go into the police office myself and get myself off of missing persons. There is honestly so much crazy shit that happened in my life, and if you want a full rundown of this story or the story of how I blew up my dad's car when I was 14, just comment below and let me know and I will give you the scoop.
So check this crazy ass loophole I just went through. I nutted in the condom. Put water in the condom, okay? Then, you want to take it a step further, put the condom over a light. At that point, you're going to see a homemade lava lamp. Not Gabino.
Dieser Mann ist der gefährlichste Gefangene der Welt und du wirst nie glauben, was er getan hat. Ein Paar namens Anna und Mike hatte gerade ein neues Haus gekauft und war eingezogen. Doch in der allerersten Nacht, die sie dort verbrachten, hörten sie seltsame Geräusche aus dem Keller. Diese Geräusche waren äußerst beunruhigend. Er sagte, dass er erst am Morgen nachsehen würde, weil er Angst hatte, nachts etwas Furchteinflößendes zu begegnen. Am nächsten Morgen beschloss das Paar, den Keller zu untersuchen. Als sie hinuntergingen, sahen sie einen furchterregenden Mann direkt vor sich stehen. Sie wussten nicht, wer er war und hatten große Angst. Dort riefen sie sofort die Polizei an und sagten, er sei über 1,80 Meter groß und sehe aus wie ein Monster. Während sie mit der Polizei telefonierten, wurde der Anruf plötzlich unterbrochen. Dann begann das Paar, um sein Leben zu schreien. Aber du wirst nie glauben, was dieser Mann ihnen angetan hat. Kommentiere Gefangener, um Teil 2 zu sehen.
Habt ihr dieses seltsame Video schon gesehen, das gerade das ganze Netz aufmischt? Viele checken bis heute nicht, was mit ihren Händen nicht stimmt. Bei einem der letzten Konzerte haben die Kameras etwas eingefangen, das sofort alle Blicke auf sich gezogen hat. Ihre Hände sahen, sagen wir mal, ziemlich ungewöhnlich aus. Und zwar nicht so, als wäre das ein Style-Ding oder bewusstes Bühnenimage. Danach ging es sofort los mit den Spekulationen. Auch, was geht da wirklich ab?
This man lived with his own mother for over 20 years. But when people found out what the two of them were doing inside that house, it was so disturbing that the police had to be called immediately. Rafael, a 31-year-old man, lived with his mother in an isolated house in San Diego. The house was dark, filthy, and had an unbearable smell. Neighbors avoided even walking nearby. No one had entered the place for years. They had no friends or relatives, just the two of them, living together since forever. But in recent months, something started to raise suspicion. Strange noises, muffled screams, and shadowy figures were seen through the cracks in the window. Until one day, a city inspector was sent to the property. When he opened the door, what he saw made him run out in panic. What Rafael and his mother were doing inside that house was so disgusting, so absurd, that even the police officers who responded to the call were left in shock. Want to know what they discovered? Comment family for part 2.
Oh yeah, one more thing. If y'all see me on Love Island, mind your fucking business, bitch. I'm trying to find love, bitch. Y'all had y'all motherfucking chance.
There was a girl who couldn't leave her room every October 10th of the year.
Why October 10th?
This is why. So the mom, whenever the date came, she would mark it on the calendar. She would circle it. She would highlight it. Make sure that her kid was in her room with no windows and stuff.
Yeah.
She never told her kid why, right? And whenever she had school on that day, or if she had to do something else that day, she's like, nope, you're not allowed to leave the house. So every year, both of them would, on October 10th, they would lock themselves in a room with no windows, right? And every year, fam, you would hear someone ring the doorbell on the house.
Yeah.
Right? But the mom obviously is with the child. So she's like, no, we're staying in this room. We're staying in this room. And as soon as midnight hits and October 11th comes,
Yeah.
the knocking, the ringing of the doorbell disappears.
But why that day? Like what?
Exactly. Trust me, it's building up. It's building up. So one day,
Neighbors laughed at the mentally ill girl, but they immediately regretted it when they learned who her father was. Martha was a 13-year-old with mental health issues, and due to her condition and occasional emotional outbursts, the neighbors often whispered about her, calling her the crazy girl. To them, she was just a discarded burden, a girl no one cared about. One day, Martha had an emotional breakdown on her way home, rolling on the grass by the roadside and getting herself covered in mud, which only added to their mockery. When the neighbors saw this, they didn't help her. Instead, they laughed at her behavior. However, they made a grave mistake because they had no idea who this girl's father was. When Martha's father learned about her ordeal, he was filled with rage, and what he did next made the neighbors instantly regret their actions. They would soon discover that sometimes appearances can be deceiving, and those they underestimate can wield incredible power. Comment neighbor for part 2.
I got pregnant by my horse when I was 40 years old. But what happened next ruined my life forever. For over 20 years, I was single, and deep down, I always felt something was missing. Then, one day, I adopted a horse, and from the moment he entered my life, he became my greatest source of joy. I know this might sound strange, but I've always dreamed of being a mother, and somehow, life took an unexpected turn. I began to feel such a deep, real, and powerful bond with him. A connection I couldn't explain. And then a thought occurred to me. What if that were actually possible? It sounds crazy, I know, but deep down, I believed it could work. Every morning, I would go to the stable to take care of my sons. Father, that's what I called him. I spoke to him as if he could understand me. Everything's all right, don't worry, I'm here. I fed him, I brushed him, I loved him like I've never loved anyone But then 2 weeks later, something happened that changed everything. A tragedy that destroyed me forever. Watch part to tap the red button and comment part 2.
These two murderers, these two monsters, ruined my entire life.
Michael Garrett, the father of Anaya Day Garrett, spoke at the sentencing Wednesday of Sierra Day and Deontay Lewis, who were both convicted earlier this month of his 4-year-old daughter.
When paramedics arrived at the apartment, they found her, already lifeless. A child, just 4 years old, her body so emaciated it resembled a skeleton. They'd been called to save her, but it was too late. What they didn't know was that this wasn't the first time she'd cried out for help. Anaya Day Garrett had pleaded with anyone who would listen, but each cry was met with silence. What no one could have imagined was that just hours before, her mother and her mother's boyfriend had been enjoying burritos and shopping for cleaning supplies at Walmart, while Anaya lay dying in the apartment. This is the story of a little girl who fought desperately to be heard, only to be silenced by the very people who were supposed to protect her. Anaya Day Garrett was born on September 2nd, 2013, in Euclid, Ohio, to Sierra Day. And Michael Garrett. From the beginning, her life was marked by instability. When Anaya was still under 2 years old, her parents separated, and the fractured family dynamic set the stage for the challenges that would follow. Sierra was granted full custody, while Michael, her biological father, tried everything he could to maintain a relationship with his daughter. He filed petitions, made phone calls, and showed up at visitation times, each time hoping for a few moments with Anaya. Michael's fight to remain involved was constant, but it was a battle against a system that seemed to make it harder for him to reach his daughter, rather than help him protect her. Anaya's early years, despite the turmoil at home, were full of life. She was described as a bright, energetic child who loved to sing and dance. Her favorite color was pink, and her energy seemed to light up any room she entered. She had a contagious laughter that made everyone around her smile, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her home life. But behind her laughter, a quiet storm was growing. During Michael's visitation times, things began to change. Anaya started to show signs of injury, bruises on her chest, and marks that didn't seem to add up. When Michael noticed these, he began to ask questions. Sierra, however, explained the injuries away as minor accidents, dismissing them as things that happened in the life of a child. She assured Michael that Anaya was fine, but Michael's concerns grew with each visit, and in response to his growing concerns, Sierra filed a restraining order against Michael, accusing him of harassment and claiming he was overstepping in his limited role as a
That's enough.
Step away from the grave now.
Don't touch me. This is my son.
Move right now.
Please. Please just let me hold him.
I don't care. Hands out. You're done here.
Please.
Say my name.
This man adopted this girl, but when they discovered what he did with her every night, it was so disgusting, so disturbing, that when the truth came to light, they called the police immediately. The case made the news. Marcos, A 43-year-old man claimed to have taken in a child that no one wanted because of her condition. The girl was 6 years old. She spoke very little, avoided adults, and clung to him in a way that made everyone uncomfortable. During the day, Marcos seemed exemplary, smiling posts, speeches about care and discipline. But at night, the routine changed. Closed doors, strict schedules, and the child never appeared rested in the morning. At school, the signs began to appear. Drops in performance, crying spells for no apparent reason, and repeated phrases always about night rules and punishments. A teacher filed a report. A social worker requested a visit, and when they entered the house, what they found in the girl's bedroom was so serious, so shocking, that terrified, they called the police on the spot. And what really happened every night in that room left everyone in shock. Want to know what they discovered? Comment daughter for part 2.
I just want to let you know that we have found a body.
I'm going to pass out. Can you get me some help? Can you get me some help? Can you get me some help? Okay. Give me some help. Oh my God. Give me some help. We're out. We're out. We're out. Help me, please.
This mother has just received shocking news about her missing daughter's dead body being found. But at the scene, what the officers discover is far more horrifying than anyone expected.
Uh-oh. See that? That's not good.
It looks like a human head to me.
Yeah, it looks like a chest cavity in the dark. Drag mark right there. We got a drag marks right there. And we got a female body. Basically, she face down, pants down. I can see enough.
On March 8th, 2020, an officer responds to a missing persons report, which sets the stage for a chilling mystery.
Is it son or daughter?
Daughter.
Daughter?
Yeah.
Okay. What is daughter's name?
Brittany, you want to get a picture? Her friend that had her. I talked to him. He dropped her off at the high school down here at 4 o'clock with some guy. And I go, what guy? And he goes, I don't know. She just said my new friend. Tall, white, cowboy-looking guy with a green truck. And now nobody can find her. None of her friends. Her phone's not on.
Okay.
I don't know where to find her.
Has she ever did this before?
No.
Never done this before?
No. And even when she does go out and do dumb things, we get a call with some crazy kind of an excuse. You know what I mean? Trying to get her out of trouble. Nothing. Not a friend. None of her friends or best friends. Nobody can find her.
When 16-year-old Gabrielle Brittany Ulaki fails to return home after her father Jim Ulaki's band practice, he urges her mother Alicia to file a report, setting in motion an investigation that will uncover far more than a simple disappearance. Brittany's phone has gone dark, and the only clue they have is a fleeting description.
And all we know is that it was a green truck. We know nothing else about the individual.
No, the boy said it was an ugly green F-150 from the early 2000s.
The officer learns that Brittany was last seen with her friend Bryce Dickey, who dropped her off at school. But something about the incident immediately catches the officer's attention.
Is there any other friends that were with Bryce, or it was just Bryce?
It was just Bryce.
And she was with him, and then he dropped her off, and he had no idea who this guy was?
No, and he even said it seemed sketchy. And I'm like, well, why'd you leave her? Why'd you leave her?
Did Bryce happen to mention it if it was a Nevada license plate?
Did you see that much?
No, I didn't see anything about the truck. He said he was a pretty good distance away from it.
So he dropped her off and then she walked quite a ways? She didn't want him to just pull up to the vehicle?
He said he dropped her off right in front of the school, and then she walked into the parking lot.
Brittany asked to be dropped just a short distance away, an oddly precise choice, too deliberate to be random. Just as the officer wraps up, her mom has one more name to drop.
Her best friend said that she's been talking to a guy named JT. She says she doesn't know anymore, she just keeps calling him JT. She goes, has anybody talked to a guy named JT? I know they've been talking a lot lately.
What's Bryce's last name?
Dickey.
Dickey.
In the days before she vanished, Brittany's contact with the stranger worried her family. Social media hints at the link, but the full story remains hidden. Identifying JT as their prime suspect, the investigators' most urgent task becomes locating him. Believing Bryce is the only person who can reveal JT's whereabouts, they interview him at the high school parking lot.
Hey, Bryce. How's it going? Good. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem.
So, kind of run me through it so I can understand what's going on.
Alright, so
Sunday, around 11, I started texting, got a few texts from Brittany, just asking if I wanted to hang out. I said sure, got ready and stuff. Told me she could meet me at Angel Park because she said her dad was doing band practice. And then went to town, called her when I got into town on 5th, and then picked her up at Angel Park, drove around, went up towards Mountain View, kept driving around, and then we were over in the horse palace section, and my dad called me asking if I could come back home. So I told her I needed to go. Asked her if she wanted me to just drop her back off at Angel Park, and she said that she wanted me to drop her off at high school to meet her new friends.
As he continues his story, Bryce recounts the final moments in which he saw Brittany.
She got out, I pulled out, and then started heading that way, and the F-150 was over there, but I didn't know that was where she was going at that time. And then got about right towards where it opens up, and then looked back, and they were both standing outside the truck. And then I got to the turnout right over there by the middle school, and then that F-150 was in motion.
Okay. So you said what was the F-150?
Yeah, it was ones that are really ugly looking, have the side step in them.
Like that winter green, dark forest green?
Like a dark forest green.
But when stories line up too perfectly, investigators know there's usually more beneath the surface.
So you picked her up at 1:30. Where did you guys go? I mean, you said you were with her for how long?
Dropped her off at 4:30, so that's three and a half hours.
I'm sure that you didn't drive around for 3.5 hours. That's a waste of gas.
No, I drove around for 3.5 hours.
Okay. That's all you did for 3.5 hours? That seemed really odd. That you just drive aimlessly around.
That's what I do almost every day. I was in my Chevy.
What's your Chevy?
It's a 93 Chevy 1500. Sorry, Silverado.
Single cab or double?
Single. Single with a long bed.
So you just drove around? You didn't stop anywhere?
No. Didn't stop at all. Literally just kept doing circles. Drove around towards the sports complex. Looked back around to the housing section.
I just think it's kind of odd. I think you know more than what you're telling.
The investigators sense that between the pickup and drop-off lies a part of the story Bryce refuses to reveal. To back up his story, Bryce shows officers his phone and the last messages he exchanged with Brittany.
I had a streak with Brittany for 70 days. And I had a habit I still seem to.
Where are you? Are you okay? Answer the phone. What time was that, please?
6:14.
Little sis is what you're referring to her as?
Yeah, she's called me Big Brother since my 8th grade year.
The string of urgent texts suggests something is seriously amiss, prompting investigators to widen their search to trace where Brittany might have gone. But little did they know this search would lead them to a suspect no one could have seen coming. Authorities focus on the green Ford after Brittany's phone is traced to Boyd Kennedy Road, but deputies find nothing. As hours slip away, those closest to Brittany take the search into their own hands.
We had messaged Bryce if he could think of anywhere where maybe no one has looked yet. And he said, Spring Creek Mountains. And then he texted me and he told me, I love you. I'm so sorry this happened, but I hope you guys don't blame me. And I said, Bryce, we definitely do not blame you one bit. We love you too, bud. Keep your head up.
Meanwhile, Alicia distributes 540 flyers in 2 days, and a non-stop tip line floods investigators with leads. Just as hope flickers, a chilling text cuts through the chaos.
I got a text message, but it was, we have your daughter. If you don't send me $25,000, I'm going to feed her to my dogs. And they kept telling me that she's very sick. The drugs that they used to take her didn't react well with her. She's going to die.
Alicia alerts detectives and brings her phone to the sheriff's office for tracing. But what comes next takes the search out of the office and into the field. The detectives receive a call that some locals have spotted something unusual in the remote Burner Basin. The hunt now moves into the scrubland, where the horrific truth begins to surface.
My sister had a baby with my father. Let's talk about it. I know there's a lot of true crime people that I follow on this app, and this is a story that you probably would love to listen to, and if you want to take a deep dive, stick around. We're going to go off of timelines first and details later. If you guys have any questions or want a story time on specific details, please let me know in the comments and I'll be glad to share them with you. The reason I'm making this video is because I do hold a lot of trauma and I'm not in therapy, and I feel like my story could potentially help someone else in this situation and give them a voice. Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm 26 years old and my father was put in prison in 2013. So like I said, we're going to start on timelines, and from the very beginning, My sister was born in 93. I was born in 99. My father is my sister's stepfather, technically. He raised her from the time she was 4 years old up until she was 18 years old. Her real father was not actively in her life. My father was, so she called him Dad. That was her dad. My father was an over-the-road truck driver, and a lot of times addiction comes along with that kind of job, and my mother was also an addict as well. My sister started getting abused when she was younger by my father, and DCF was involved and took me and my sister out of my parents' care and placed us with our grandparents. I was placed with my dad's parents, and my sister was placed with my mom's parents. During this time of being placed with my grandparents and my sister being placed with grandparents, my mom decided to stay. Not only did she stay, she thought it was a good idea to get pregnant with my younger brother. My younger brother was born in 2000. We were living in Pensacola, Florida, in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, single-wide mobile home. Mind you, my parents are heavy in addiction at this point, and the abuse still continued once we were placed back in their care. My parents constantly were physically fighting each other, arguing constantly. It was terrible. A couple years go by, and my parents decide that they are going to get clean and get on a straight and narrow path. We moved to Cantonment, Florida. I'm not sure the year. But as a child, I remember thinking to myself, this is amazing. We're going from a trailer to a block home with a pool and acreage. We're going to have our own bedrooms instead of 3 children all piled into one room. I thought it was going to be great. Little did I know, it was going to get worse. My parents decided to leave the addiction in the past, and my father decided to pick up another addiction with alcohol. And it was extremely severe. The abuse in the home continued to happen all the way up until my father was put away in prison in 2013. My mother claims that she didn't know how to get away from this man. There was no opportunity for her to ever leave him. Blah, 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 blah. Now that I'm an adult myself with children, I know in my heart and mind that if something were to ever be happening in my household with my spouse and my child, I would leave. And he would probably leave in a body bag. But moving forward, the abuse with my sister and my father continued to happen in the house in Cantonment where we had lived. The man that owned the house also owned a lawn care company, and my mother started working for him. The lawn business was ran out of the backyard where we were living and renting the house. We became extremely close with the owner of the house. He was like an uncle to me. We would go to his house. We would have parties and things like that, get-togethers and whatnot. And you might be thinking, why is this important? But we will get there. We lived in this house for probably the longest period of time we've ever lived in a house. While living in the house in Cantonment, the abuse continued to get more and more and more severe, and I didn't ever think it was going to stop. Also, keep in mind, years are going by, I'm getting older. As I'm getting older, I'm starting to question things like, why is my dad locking me and my brother out of the house and telling us to go clean the pool or go play outside, right? My brother and I would try to go back inside the house and the door would be locked, and my sister and my dad would be in the home alone. At probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe younger, I definitely thought something was weird. As a child, with the abuse going on, I was extremely terrified to say anything to anyone. My father was an extremely terrifying man. Extreme. My reasoning as a child for not saying anything was, I was scared if I mentioned that something weird was going on with my mom, my sister, and my dad to my mom. If I said anything to my mom, I was terrified that my mom was going to approach him. She was going to tell him what I had told her, and then he would retaliate and hurt me. So I never said anything. I never said anything. And yes, to this day, I do have guilt, and I sleep with that every single day. Now, the crazy part that comes in is, like I told you, the guy that owned the business, running it out of the backyard in the home we were renting from him, approached my mother and questioned her about my father and my sister's relationship, that it was weird. Mind you, this came out of the blue, according to my mom. She questioned my dad and my sister, and they said, no, nothing's going on, right? Me, as a mom today, if any outsider is coming to tell me that something is going on, or I think something's going on with your spouse and your child, done. Before it even got to this point, it should have been done. So the landlord / lawn business owner that had questioned my mom about my dad and my sister's relationship, his relationship with my dad became pretty rocky, and my parents decided that we were going to move. We moved to a house on Abbey Lane in Pensacola, Florida, and not long after we moved in, maybe several months, is when the big secret came out. I can go into detail about the night that everything did go out. If you guys want a story time on that, please drop it in the comments, and I will be glad to tell you that story. Now, when everything did come out, my father denied every bit of everything up until there was a child born, and DNA proved that 99.999% DNA was his. Mind you, my sister did not find out that she was pregnant until she was several months along, and it was right before we were going to go to trial. Trial happened in July of 2013, and she had the baby in February of 2013. Now, that pretty much sums up the timeline of everything that I've endured in my childhood. However, there is so many stories that I have about things that my parents have put me through and my siblings through. So, if you would like to hear a story, or you're interested about everything that happened, feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to use this as a diary / therapy session / trauma dump. I don't care. I just want my story out there. It's been so long, and I've sat for a long time, and I just want to feel some sort of justice for myself. And my father being locked away in prison is not the justice that you guys think that I need. It's more than that. I hold trauma. I will hold the trauma for as long as I'm alive. So, if you're interested, please stick around. I want to share this with everyone. I want to share this story. I want to help someone if they have been through something similar. Yeah. And that's me and my life.
Back in 1992, 52-year-old Patricia Kopta went missing. She just completely vanished. She was just suddenly left her husband, her mother, her siblings, and they were all desperately wondering what happened to her. At the time, Patricia was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with her husband Bob, who was a truck driver. Now, around town, Patricia was known as the Sparrow. People called her or referred to her as the Sparrow because she was short, she had a really small frame, and she had what people described as like an erratic walk. But why did people know her all around town? Well, because before Patricia went missing, she had been hanging around the downtown area since way back in the 1980s, and she would be down there preaching the end times to anyone and everyone that would listen to her. But what made Patricia do this? It is said that she suffered from pretty severe mental health issues and she was afraid of being institutionalized. But before we go into more talking about that, let's talk about who Patricia was before her mental health struggles. From what we know, Patricia was a straight A student and she grew up from what some people describe as like a typical Roman Catholic family. After graduating high school, Patricia worked in finance at a Pittsburgh plate glass company. For fun, Patricia became a model, and she was also a dance instructor who would attend ballroom dancing events on a weekly basis. She was in church also every single Sunday. Now, it is said by family members that Patricia loved the ocean, she loved the beach, she loved the warm sunshine, and she really liked to go to vacation in Puerto Rico with her friends. It was her favorite place to go. Patricia met her husband Bob near a river in Pittsburgh when Bob had a boat. Patricia and her friends were just like all hanging out, and here comes Bob pulling up on a boat, and he ends up offering them to go on a ride on his boat. They did, and the rest was history between him and Patricia. They went on to get married in 1972. Not long after getting married, the family started to notice a change in Patricia. Patricia actually had to quit her job in finance after being there for 10 years because she was getting really bad migraines. When Patricia went to the doctors about these migraines, they just kind of brushed it off like it was no big deal. They just told her, hey, take some over-the-counter medication, or, just take this, stay in a dark room. And she'd end up going back to the doctor over and over, and every single time they kept telling her that these migraines were harmless and they were just due to a lot of stress in her life. And just finding that out, how many of y'all have been there? Anyways, Patricia couldn't continue working in her finance job, and so she got a new job as an elevator operator at the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. She could handle that a little bit better than having to crunch numbers, be responsible for all of this paperwork, staring at a computer screen, but she was very good at greeting people as an elevator operator. While working there, Patricia began telling family members that she could see an angel there. Yes, like at this art institute, she was seeing an angel. Shortly after this is when Patricia started preaching, and she was briefly committed to a mental hospital where doctors diagnosed her with delusions of grandeur, and they also said that she had signs of schizophrenia. It is said when Patricia was downtown preaching, she would literally go up to people's cars, lean into open car windows at traffic lights, and tell people about God's impending wrath, which a lot of people knew her and they liked her, but you can imagine how that is when somebody's just coming up, they're leaning into your open window and they're telling you the hellfire doom and gloom. That's the point that she was at here. Locals say that Patricia would attend all kinds of events around town, and she would be really well dressed, and she would be there preaching as well. They all knew her. They say that she would typically say things like, when the darkness comes, go inside for 3 days and do not come out. Patricia didn't get into a whole lot of legal trouble during this time, except for she did end up having one encounter with the police that did lead her to being institutionalized, a thing that she definitely never wanted to have happen to her. That happened in this instance. It's also been reported that sometime in 1991 to 1992, a group of girls ran up on Patricia. They ended up mugging her. They stole her wedding ring, they stole her engagement rings, and anything else that they could get off of her. So all of this is going on. She has her family that loves her. And then suddenly, out of the blue, according to Bob, he said that he came home one night in 1992. They got married in 1972. Okay, so 20 years later, they've been married. He comes home one night and Patricia is just poof gone. She's vanished. Now, after being reported missing, the cops say that they did everything that they could to try to find Patricia. They even consulted a psychic, but Patricia was seemingly just nowhere to be found. It had been reported to investigators that Patricia had made different comments or statements at times to other family members that she was leaving because she was concerned that she was going to be placed in a care facility. But no one really thought much of it. I mean, maybe they didn't believe that she would actually leave, but she made those comments nonetheless. Everyone wondered what happened to Patricia because she was such a notable figure in the town. Like, people knew her, they expected to see her. It was just bizarre for her not to be around. Actually, here's a clip from 1998 of people talking about Patricia.
Everybody has a Sparrow Lady story. Bob just told us she walked into the wave pool.
Her legend. Good.
Yeah, when I was working at the wave pool after I graduated in '86, she would come out to the South Park wave pool and pay admission. And she would have and she wore the same dress every day. It was a really long white dress. I mean, in the middle of summer, it must have been just so hot and uncomfortable. And she walked down the middle steps, and the crowd started to gather because she was pretty loud. I mean, and the wave pool was just always packed back then. She walked right into the shallow end and proceeded to walk up until it was about waist high. I mean, in this
flowing white dress.
And it was so heavy, and the waves came on and started to drag her down. Yeah, and what'd you do? We had to shut the waves off, and somebody had to go in after her.
Go get her.
And yeah, the whole time we had to call the county police.
Oh, yeah.
And they all knew her.
There was a time where Scott and I were, every broadcast we did, she was there every single broadcast.
As the years went by, Bob says that he went through a lot. And again, as you can imagine, he has been married to her for 20 years at this point, and then poof, she vanishes. He said that every single time a body was found somewhere, he immediately started thinking, like, is this her? Where's she at? I saw an interview where one of her sisters said that, they believe she was gone. However, at one point, Bob said that he remembered Patricia's love for Puerto Rico, so he even had missing ads published in the Puerto Rican newspaper, but he never got a response from anybody. Now,
these two murderers, these two monsters, ruined my entire life.
Michael Garrett, the father of Anaya Day Garrett, spoke at the sentencing Wednesday of Sierra Day and Deontay Lewis, who were both convicted earlier this month of his 4-year-old daughter.
When paramedics arrived at the apartment, they found her, already lifeless. A child, just 4 years old, her body so emaciated it resembled a skeleton. They'd been called to save her, but it was too late. What they didn't know was that this wasn't the first time she'd cried out for help. Anaya Day Garrett had pleaded with anyone who would listen, but each cry was met with silence. What no one could have imagined was that just hours before, her mother and her mother's boyfriend had been enjoying burritos and shopping for cleaning supplies at Walmart, while Anaya lay dying in the apartment. This is the story of a little girl who fought desperately to be heard, only to be silenced by the very people who were supposed to protect her. Anaya Day Garrett was born on September 2nd, 2013, in Euclid, Ohio, to Sierra Day. And Michael Garrett. From the beginning, her life was marked by instability. When Anya was still under 2 years old, her parents separated, and the fractured family dynamic set the stage for the challenges that would follow. Sierra was granted full custody, while Michael, her biological father, tried everything he could to maintain a relationship with his daughter. He filed petitions, made phone calls, and showed up at visitation times, each time hoping for a few moments with Anaya. Michael's fight to remain involved was constant, but it was a battle against a system that seemed to make it harder for him to reach his daughter, rather than help him protect her. Anaya's early years, despite the turmoil at home, were full of life. She was described as a bright, energetic child who loved to sing and dance. Her favorite color was pink, and her energy seemed to light up any room she entered. She had a contagious laughter that made everyone around her smile, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her home life. But behind her laughter, a quiet storm was growing. During Michael's visitation times, things began to change. Anya started to show signs of injury, bruises on her chest, and marks that didn't seem to add up. When Michael noticed these, he began to ask questions. Sierra, however, explained the injuries away as minor accidents, dismissing them as things that happened in the life of a child. She assured Michael that Anya was fine, but Michael's concerns grew with each visit, and in response to his growing concerns, Sierra filed a restraining order against Michael, accusing him of harassment, and claiming he was overstepping in his limited role as a father.